The galaxy had already decided what humanity was. Weak, primitive, temporary. Inside the massive Senate chamber of the Galactic Concord, thousands of alien delegates watched the war unfold across the stars in terrified silence. Entire systems were collapsing under the advance of the Varkal Dominion, an empire so ancient that most civilizations believed resistance itself was pointless. Worlds burned in mathematical precision. Fleets vanished in hours. Moons cracked apart like brittle stone. And every species in the Concord knew the same horrifying truth. The Varkal were coming for Earth next. Commander Elias Ward stood alone near the back of the chamber, wearing a simple black military coat without medals. Humanity had been invited to the Concord only 9 years earlier. Most races still considered humans amusing little survivors from a polluted death world. Too emotional, too violent, too divided. The insectoid Nhari ambassador clicked her mandibles in irritation. "Your species possesses only 12 capital-class warships," she said coldly. "You cannot assist in this war." Several delegates murmured agreement. The towering Dravik warlord leaned forward. The Varkal erased the Helion Armada in 43 minutes. Their largest ships are 20 kilometers long. Humanity would only increase casualty projections. Ward listened quietly. No anger. No pride. Just silence. At the center of the chamber, a holographic battlefield displayed another dying colony. Millions were evacuating while Varkal biomechanical carriers descended through the atmosphere like metal gods. A child's scream echoed through the emergency transmission before the feed died. The chamber went still. Then the High Chancellor spoke. "Earth has requested permission to retreat from the war zone entirely." Several species visibly relaxed. Cowards, they thought. Predictable. Ward finally stepped forward. "We are not retreating," he said calmly. The translator drones echoed his words through 6,000 languages. The Chancellor frowned. "Then why has Earth recalled every fleet to Sol?" Ward's gray eyes hardened. "Because," he said quietly, "we're done hiding." The chamber stirred uneasily. A new signal suddenly appeared over the hologram. Unauthorized. Encrypted. Human origin. An AI voice filled the Senate hall. Authorization accepted. Releasing classified Terran military archives. The stars shifted. Then the hologram zoomed outward past known human territory. Past Mars. Past Pluto. Into darkness. Gasps spread across the chamber as hundreds of hidden objects appeared beyond the solar boundary. Shipyards. Gigantic construction arrays concealed inside dead comets and frozen debris fields. And at the center of them, something impossible. A vessel. Black. Colossal. Nearly 300 kilometers long. The hologram labeled the vessel. TSS Atlas, humanity's 12th supercarrier. Silence consumed the chamber. The Varkal's largest dreadnoughts suddenly looked tiny. The Nhari ambassador trembled. "How long?" she whispered. Ward looked at the hologram. "For 80 years, he answered. The chamber froze. Humanity had hidden this? Built this in secret while pretending weakness? The Chancellor's voice shook. "Why would your species conceal such power?" Ward stared at the burning systems on the hologram. "Because every species in this galaxy feared humanity's past." Images flashed beside him. Human wars. Nuclear fire. Ruined cities. Mass extinction. "We learned something after almost destroying ourselves," Ward said. "The stronger humanity becomes, the more terrified everyone else gets." The Dravik warlord narrowed his eyes. "And now?" Ward looked directly at the image of the approaching Varkal fleet. "Now," he said, "we need the galaxy to be afraid with us." Far beyond Pluto, enormous engines ignited. The Atlas began to move. And across known space, every listening device received the same transmission. Terran supercarrier fleet departing Sol. There will be no retreat.
The first species to see the Atlas arrive thought a moon had entered the battlefield. Captain Serix of the Valorian Defense Fleet stood frozen on his command deck as space itself darkened beyond the stars. Then the object emerged from hyperspace. Not a ship, a fortress. A moving world clad in black titanium and glowing reactor vanes. The Atlas. Behind it came 11 more supercarriers. Smaller than the Atlas, but still monstrous enough to dwarf entire alien fleets. Every comm channel exploded in panic. Human reinforcements detected. No, impossible mass signatures. Those ships violate known engineering laws. The Varkal Armada halted for the first time in 20 years. That alone terrified the galaxy. Because the Varkle never stopped, never hesitated. Yet now thousands of biomechanical warships floated motionless before humanity's hidden fleet. Inside the Atlas command chamber, Commander Elias Ward stared calmly at the tactical display. The room itself was enormous, cathedral-like, lined with holographic projections and silent officers. No shouting, no chaos, only discipline. An AI voice echoed softly. Enemy fleet strength, 32,000 vessels. Another officer spoke. Probability of Allied survival without intervention, 0%. Ward nodded once. Launch the shield line. Across the Atlas hull, gigantic mechanical plates unfolded. Then the impossible happened. A wall of blue light erupted across space itself. The shield stretched thousands of kilometers, intercepting an incoming Varkle bombardment that would have annihilated 3 Allied fleets. The alien commanders watched in disbelief as planet-killer beams crashed harmlessly against the Terran barrier. Captain Sarix whispered, "By the stars." The Atlas fired back. One shot. That was all. A focused lance of white energy erupted from the carrier's spinal cannon and pierced straight through 17 Varkle warships before vanishing into darkness. Entire enemy formations evaporated. Shockwaves rolled through space. On the Varkle flagship, Supreme Overmind Zyrex finally spoke. The creature resembled a fusion of flesh and machinery, suspended within black liquid inside a massive neural throne. Humans, it hissed. The word carried hatred. Ancient hatred. A subordinate drone turned. Supreme Overmind, records indicate humanity, was classified as a low-threat species. Zyrex's biomechanical eyes narrowed. Incorrect. Ancient archived memories surfaced within the Overmind. Thousands of years ago, another species had risen suddenly. Aggressive, adaptive, impossible to control. The Varkle exterminated them before they could evolve further. But humanity felt terrifyingly similar. On the Atlas Bridge, alarms suddenly flashed red. Enemy dreadnought signatures increasing. A massive tear opened across space. Then another. And another. Entire Varkle reserve fleets emerged from hyperspace. Millions of ships. The galaxy-wide emergency network erupted into despair. Even Allied commanders lost hope. Commander Ward remained calm. "Good," he said quietly. An officer blinked in confusion. "Sir?" Ward looked at the growing enemy armada. "We finally have their full attention." Then he gave the order. "All Terran carriers, release the Valkyries." The sides of the Atlas opened, like the wings of a giant beast. Thousands. No. Hundreds of thousands of human strike fighters poured into space. Silver streams of light flooded the battlefield. Human pilots accelerated directly toward the Varkle fleet without hesitation. Captain Sarix stared in horror. "They're charging straight into certain death." Ward answered softly, "Yes." Human voices suddenly filled every Allied communication channel. Laughing, cheering, singing. The alien fleets listened in stunned silence as Terran pilots flew toward impossible odds with terrifying joy. One human pilot shouted over comms, "All right, boys and girls, let's remind the galaxy why humans should never be cornered." Then the battle truly began. The Battle of Karen Reach became the single bloodiest conflict in galactic history. Entire fleets vanished within hours. Stars themselves seemed to shake. Human strike fighters moved like swarms of angry hornets around the gigantic Varkle war machines. They were smaller, faster, reckless beyond comprehension. Alien commanders watched in disbelief as damaged human pilots deliberately rammed enemy ships to protect civilians. No species fought like this. No species smiled while dying. Captain Sarix could barely process what he was witnessing. A Terran cruiser had lost half its hull. It should have retreated. Instead, the burning ship accelerated directly into the center of a Varkle formation and detonated its reactors manually. 23 enemy vessels disappeared in nuclear fire. The human captain's final transmission echoed across open channels. "If Earth falls, make them earn it." Then silence. On the Atlas Bridge, casualty reports flooded endlessly. Thousands dead, then tens of thousands.
Still the humans advanced.
Commander Ward's expression never changed, but inside, exhaustion clawed at him. He knew the truth nobody else did. The Atlas was winning, but barely. The Varkal numbers were endless. And hidden beneath the battlefield was something far worse. Deep within enemy territory, enormous gravitational distortions began to form. Ward saw them instantly. His blood went cold. "No," he whispered. An officer turned. "Sir?" Ward stared at the readings. They brought a World Eater. Fear spread across the bridge. Even veteran Terran officers went pale. Then it appeared. Space ripped apart. A colossal organism emerged from hyperspace, larger than moons, wrapped in black armor like flesh and glowing red eyes. The World Eater, an ancient biological superweapon. Entire planets had disappeared inside creatures like this. The alien fleets panicked immediately. Retreat signals flooded every channel. Captain Syrinx felt genuine despair for the first time. No fleet can kill that thing. The World Eater opened its jaws. A beam of compressed stellar plasma began charging inside its throat. Target locked.
Karen Prime.
Population, 11 billion. Ward closed his eyes briefly. Then he made the hardest decision of his life. All carriers withdraw. The bridge officers stared at him. "Sir, withdraw now." "But the planet," Ward's voice thundered. "That is an order." The human fleets immediately began retreating. Alien commanders stared in shock. Had humanity finally broken? The World Eater fired. A beam capable of cracking continents shot toward Karen Prime. Then something impossible happened. The Atlas moved. The supercarrier accelerated directly between the beam and the planet. The impact lit the solar system white. The Atlas shield shattered instantly. Armor melted. Entire sections of the ship vaporized. Millions aboard died in seconds. Warning sirens screamed across every deck. Fires erupted everywhere. Yet the Atlas remained standing. Commander Ward coughed blood as the bridge shook violently. "Status." A terrified officer answered. "Reactor stability failing. Hull collapse spreading across 12 sectors." The World Eater prepared another shot. Ward looked at the tactical screen silently. Then he whispered, "Open all channels." Across the battlefield, every species suddenly heard the human commander's voice.
Calm.
"Tired. Human. We were never hiding because we feared you." He looked at the burning remains of a ship. "We were hiding because we feared ourselves." The Atlas engines roared. Every remaining reactor overloaded simultaneously. Alien commanders realized the truth too late. The Atlas was turning into a bomb. And it was charging directly at the World Eater. Ward gave one final order. For Earth. The supercarrier disappeared into blinding light. Then the galaxy shook. For 13 full seconds, every communication system in the Karen sector died. No signals. No radar. No sound. Only white light. Then the shockwave arrived. Thousands of ships spun helplessly through collapsing gravity fields as the explosion from the Atlas tore across the battlefield like the birth of a star. The World Eater vanished instantly. Not wounded. Not damaged.
Erased.
Entire sections of the Varkal Armada disappeared beside it. When sensors finally returned online, all that remained of the Atlas was burning debris drifting through silent space. Captain Syrinx stared numbly at the tactical display. The impossible supercarrier was gone. Destroyed, saving a world that wasn't even human. Around him, alien crews stood speechless. Some in shock. Some in grief. Some in fear of what humanity truly was. Then a transmission appeared.
Weak.
Distorted. Human. Static crackled before a voice emerged. Commander Elias Ward. Barely alive. If anyone can hear this, the bridge around him was collapsing. Smoke filled the air. Emergency lights flickered red across blood-stained metal. "We stopped the World Eater." He coughed violently. But the Varkal command ship survived. On the tactical display, the enemy flagship still floated behind the battlefield. Damaged, but operational. Supreme Overmind Syrinx had survived. And now the remaining Varkle fleets regrouped around it like wolves preparing one final strike. Human fleets were shattered. Alien fleets were retreating. The war should have ended there. But something changed. Captain Serix slowly stood. Then he opened every allied frequency. His voice trembled. All fleets to regroup on the human position. A stunned officer turned toward him. Captain, that is suicide. Serix looked at the burning remains of the Atlas. Yes, he whispered. Then more voices joined. Dravik warships turned back toward battle. Nahari carriers reactivated weapons. Dozens of species that once mocked humanity now formed defensive lines around the dying Terran fleet. For the first time in galactic history, the galaxy stood united. On the Varkle flagship, Zyrex watched silently. Its hatred deepened. Humans infect the lesser races, it hissed. Exterminate them all. The remaining Varkle fleets charged, and the united galaxy charged back. The final battle began in the ruins of the Atlas. Human marines boarded enemy ships alongside alien soldiers. Creatures that once distrusted one another now fought shoulder to shoulder in burning corridors. Captain Serix personally led the assault on the Varkle flagship. Beside him fought surviving Terran marines covered in blood and ash. One human soldier grinned while reloading.
See?
Told you aliens would eventually like us. Even Serix laughed. Then the doors exploded inward. The throne chamber of Zyrex awaited. The Overmind rose from its black liquid core, towering above them. You are all already dead, it growled. A brutal firefight erupted instantly. Soldiers died within seconds. Serix was thrown across the chamber. The remaining humans kept advancing anyway, one by one, even wounded, even burning. Finally, a dying Terran marine reached the neural core of Zyrex. The marine smiled weakly. Humanity says hello. Then, he detonated the last fusion charge. The flagship split apart from the inside. And the Varkle Dominion finally fell. The war ended 3 days later. Without the Overmind, the remaining Varkle fleets collapsed into chaos. Some surrendered. Others fled into dark space. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was quiet. But victory did not feel triumphant. Too many worlds had burned. Too many lives were gone. And drifting above Charon Prime were the shattered remains of the Atlas. The ship that changed history forever. Across the galaxy, billions watched the recovery operations live. Human rescue crews searched endlessly through broken metal fields hoping for survivors. Most found only silence. Then, inside a crushed command sector near the carrier's core, they found Commander Elias Ward.
Alive.
Barely. The footage spread across every world within hours. Alien medics carrying the unconscious human commander beside Terran soldiers. A symbol nobody thought possible months earlier.
Unity.
Weeks later, the Galactic Concord gathered once more inside the Senate chamber. But this time, everything felt different. No species mocked humanity anymore. No one called them weak. The High Chancellor stood before the assembly. For generations, we feared human aggression, she said quietly. What we failed to understand was human sacrifice. The chamber fell silent. Outside the massive station windows floated 12 enormous holograms. The hidden Terran supercarriers. 11 still survived. The 12th, Atlas, remained dark. Destroyed. The Chancellor turned toward Elias Ward, now scarred heavily from the battle. The galaxy owes your species its existence. Ward looked around the chamber. At former enemies. Former doubters. Former cowards. Then he answered softly.
No.
Confused murmurs spread. Ward continued. The galaxy survived because, for the first time, you stopped waiting for someone else to save you. Even the alien delegates listened carefully now. Humanity had earned that silence. Captain Serix stepped forward from the crowd. The once proud alien commander lowered his head respectfully toward Ward. What happens now? Ward looked toward the stars beyond the chamber windows. His expression darkened slightly. The Varkle feared something, he said. The chamber stilled. They weren't running from us. A cold feeling spread through the room. Ward activated a recovered Varkal archive. Ancient footage appeared above the Senate. Entire galaxies burning. Civilizations consumed by something moving inside the dark between stars. Something enormous. Something worse. Then the recording ended with one final translated warning. Do not wake the hunger beyond. Silence swallowed the chamber. The Chancellor whispered, "What is that?" Ward stared into the darkness outside. Far beyond known space. Far beyond the edge of every map. And for the first time since the war began, humanity looked afraid. Then Earth's surviving 11 supercarriers activated their engines simultaneously. Stars trembled. Commander Ward spoke one final line. "Whatever's coming next." A faint smile crossed his scarred face. It picked the wrong galaxy.